Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Gabe Lomotey and I am a filmmaker in Ohio. But when I'm not doing filmmaking, I like to mess around and do some color grading. And today I want to talk more about serial nodes and how you can do some color grades with just serial nodes in general. It's always important to start off with the basics, right? So here we are going to have an image where I already had to have 7 different nodes available, but we're only going to use 6 in this situation. And just to give you a little bit of a crash course, serial nodes work as linear connections. So what that means is right over here, when you come to your left, this is your RGB input, and all the way over here is your RGB output. So one node will continuously affect the other, and it will continuously build on, with the furthest node being the most dominant. So if I was to have this contrast node be in black and white and this exposure node to be orange and red, the black and white node would actually be more dominant and it would completely overpower the scene. And if I was to flip it, you would start to see that the red would start to blend in with the black and white and so forth. But in this situation, we're only going to build off of serial nodes, right? So looking at our image, this footage was shot with red. What we're going to do is we're going to input our color space transform, and on top of that, we're also going to name this as CST out. It's also important to realize that serial node structure does matter, and typically if you're going to have your CST out node or your CST in node, whatever you name your CST, it's most important to put it more towards the end, so that way you can build off of your image, especially when shooting in log, so that way you can get the most amount of dynamic range when it comes to grading. So the input color space was red, white, gamma, RGB. Input gamma was red log 3G10. Our output color space is going to be Rec 709, and the output gamma is going to be Rec 709-A. Enabling that already kind of gives us a little bit of color back into the image. And the first two things that I like to do when I come to color grade is my exposure node, and I like to do my contrast. So I'm going to enable this exposure node, and I'm going to show you exactly what I did here. Basically, I like to drop my Luma mix all the way down to 0. And then I do this little trick that I learned where I come right over to the HSL qualifier. I set my lows to 65, my high to 100, my low softening to 30, and then it allows me to adjust my highlights to the point where I like it. And on top of that, I like to now come over to the contrast node, and I made a smooth little S curve, right? And you can do this however you like. You can mess with your contrast in your primary color wheels where the contrast and the pivot is, or you can just come over to the curves and mess around with it there. Many different ways to do contrast, but personally for me, I like to do it within my curves. So when I enable that node right over here, this is kind of what I got, a little bit of a balanced image, and these two nodes are already underway. And just as a frame of reference for those who are beginners, lift stands for your shadow, gamma stands for your midtones, and gain is your highlights. So the next thing I did right over here was I came over to the primaries, right? Color wheels are there to help you, and at the same time, you don't need to do crazy things with your primary color wheels. So if I enable this, I made this extremely blue because I kind of wanted to give it a bit of a Ozark feel. When I first started grading, I thought that if I was going to mess with the primaries, I had to push things to get the colors that I really wanted to, and that's not the case. You can do small adjustments utilizing your RGB values and fine-tune them to the way that you want your scene to look. It's really dependent. It's all subjective on the mood and emotion that you're trying to convey. But for me, that is one tip that I feel like is very important. Don't think that you have to overdo it to do a good grade. So going in with this Ozark feel, another thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to isolate the subject's skin and kind of ease around what was going on in the back. So what I did was, over here in my HSL qualifier, if I hit Shift plus H and then I'll enable that node, you start to see exactly kind of what is being affected that isn't gray, right? So her skin is being affected. We know a little bit of the scene is gonna not be affected, and you have the ability to fine tune this however you like. So if I wanted to just have it be her hair, I could mess around and find those hues, or if I want it to be more of the image, then I can just increase that center, but we're just gonna bring that right back to where I had it before. From there, I can then come over here and mess around with my gamma or my gain, primarily my gamma because I wanted to mess more around with the midtones. And when I fine adjust that and we just disable that, we start to see that we're starting to bring back that color, right? You see what it looked like before, it was completely blue. And then on top of that, now we've brought back some of her skin tones, and this is okay. This gives me more of a neutral vibe to work out with, right? And on top of that, if I wanted to see where her skin tone was on the vector scope, we're gonna look at this white line right over here. And if I want to even get more detailed with the specific color of what her skin tones are looking like, I'd come over to this second node over here, and then I'm gonna draw a power window. I put this little triangle right over there, and then when I do enable that, it's going to only showcase her skin. And the way to also do that is you come over to your curves, you can just drop that all the way down, and then you're going to invert that mask, right? and that's going to tell you exactly what's being affected. And if you pay attention to the vector scope, if I put over this show 2x zoom, you're going to see that it's pretty close to the skin tone line. And again, because of the image I am trying to convey, it doesn't have to necessarily be perfect. I'm not trying to get perfect white balance. I just wanted to bring some of her skin back. And now I'm looking at this image, and that's pretty much all I wanted to do. I think it doesn't look terrible to me. It still shows a little bit of the greenish bluish tint, but at the end of the day, working in this serial node structure where I am creating linear connections, it's nice to see that I can build out an image regardless of it having to be extremely complex. Obviously, as time goes on in your color grading journey, what you're going to do is you're going to experience more with different styles, such as building a node tree, and I did something similar in my Kodak 2383 video. And you have the ability to mess with your HDR wheels, your logs, start getting into HSV densities, switching in with the parallel nodes, the layer mixers to make your adjustments. But for the most part, we just wanted to build something with a serial node. So if you like tutorials like these, feel free to subscribe. There's going to be a lot more information that I drop on my Patreon with free resources you can use when it comes to color grading and editing. And if you like short form content, head over to Instagram or TikTok where you can get short form tutorials just like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.